All right, so we're going to be palpating all the tarsal bones in this video, and we're going to be kind of going through them one by one, but we'll go back and forth between a few of them. So the first one that we're going to start off with is actually the calcaneus. So I'm going to be rolling his leg over and lifting it up a little bit. I think this should be pretty obvious for a lot of you, but as you follow the Achilles tendon or calcaneal tendon, it's going to insert here into the calcaneus, which is the beginning of what's known as the calcaneal tuberosity. Now, the calcaneal tuberosity is actually a very large landmark, so I can wrap all around this whole heel portion of it. This is all calcaneal tuberosity as it extends from posterior and runs onto the plantar surface. On the plantar surface, there's two more processes. One over here, which is going to be the lateral process, which is the origin of abductor digiti minimi pedis. So if my body is able to abduct his little toe, good, just like so, that is going to be the origin on the lateral process. As I go over to the other side, much larger, almost 2 times the size, is the medial process. There's 2 muscles originating on the first layer, one of which is going to be abductor hallucis, which is going to allow the big toe to do flexion and abduction. So I'm going to ask my body to be able to do that. Good, and right in here I can feel that muscle moving as it attaches to the medial process. So there's 2 easy ways to confirm the processes, and I can use gastrocs and soleus to prove the larger calcaneal tuberosity. We're going to roll his foot laterally. I want to keep it fairly flat. I'm going to landmark the medial malleolus of the tibia. As I fall off of that, the first bone I might briefly contact is the tibia, the Tailless, and then as I continue going a little bit further, it's going to turn into calcaneus, and then I'm going to fall off of bone into soft tissue. This part of the calcaneus is known as the sustentaculum tali, and it is a medial projection, kind of creating a shelf. A muscle called flexor hallucis longus is going to go underneath that shelf, quite deep through its own groove as it heads out into the big toe. For now, just as a confirmation, we can have the person try to flex their big toe, and we can say that we can feel some movement, confirming the sustentaculum tali. The sustentaculum tali is also a large ligamentous attachment on the medial aspect when it comes to your deltoid ligament. We'll discuss that at a later time. I'm going to roll his foot medially this time so we can look at the lateral side. Very similar to what we just did, I'm going to start, however, on the lateral malleolus of the fibula, and I'm going to move inferiorly. This one's sometimes a little bit trickier to find, but there is a bony bump, it's quite small, on the lateral aspect of the calcaneus. As I ask my body to do eversion, good, this little bony landmark helps hold a strap or retinaculum that holds down these 2 lateral muscles, fibularis longus and brevis. So peroneal tubercle, peroneus muscle. And again, that's helping hold those tendons in place behind the malleolus. We're going to be moving on to the next bone, which is known as the Tailless. For this, I'm going to change my body's position to have his foot flat planted. What we're going to be looking for is going right in between the medial and lateral malleoluses. As I drop off the tibia, I'm going to enter into quite a bit of soft tissue space here. The dome, or most proximal part of the Tailless, where our articulation happens, is going to be up in between both of these malleoli. So as I sink in, I'm then going to passively plantar flex him, and the beginning of that trochlea, as it's known, is starting to roll forward. So you may be able to feel a slight difference between a passively dorsiflexed versus passively plantar flexed right in between those 2 malleoli. This will be our location for trying to find that trochlea or dome of the Tailless. As I palpate distal to the malleoli, specifically more on the medial aspect, you're going to get into where the head of this Tailless sits. The head of the Tailless is going to be articulating with the next bone in line. That's what I'm trying to show with my finger, which is known as the navicular. So the head has a convex shape that's very smooth, and the proximal part of the navicular is concave. Again, at this joint is where a lot of your inversion, eversion motion is going to happen. So what I'm going to do is hold on to what I believe is the head, and you will be able to see motion occurring below my fingers, but not necessarily my fingers moving back and forth. So this being on the Tailless versus this part is on the navicular. Again, if I ask my person to do a little inversion and eversion, it might be a little bit tricky because of the tendons. However, you can see my lower hand is moving in response to that, where my upper hand really is not. So continuing with the navicular again somewhat looks like a lunar shape or semicircular, like so. And the most medial landmark on that is known as its tuberosity. There is quite a large bony bump that sticks out on most people's foot. So again, I'm going to revisit a landmark, medial malleolus, dropping below that, sustentaculum tali here, and distal to that landmark is the navicular's tuberosity. This is going to be the insertion for the start of the insertion for tibialis posterior. So if my individual does inversion with his foot again, good, we can actually feel the tendon of tibialis posterior going into the navicular tuberosity. Another thing that is unique to know is that navicular spans all three cuneiforms. So I need to revisit this coming up shortly, as we're going to look for the medial, intermediate, and lateral cuneiform. However, we're going to jump those bones and get down into the metatarsals, and we'll come back to the cuneiforms. Each metatarsal, number 1, number 2, and number 3, articulates with one cuneiform. So metatarsal 1 with the medial, metatarsal 2 with the intermediate, and metatarsal 3 with the lateral. So what I'm going to do is change the position of his foot to make it a little bit easier for me to manipulate his metatarsals. I can move them up and down and try to get a sense of movement happening between, or I can try to sink my fingers in between the metatarsal shafts. Again, just for reference, it goes head, shaft, and base. The bases of the metatarsals are in contact with each other, so when you're no longer able to put your fingers in between them, you're getting really, really close to the metatarsal base. For that reason, right where I'm palpating right now is the base of metatarsal number 1. I'm going to leave some fingers across that. I'm going to go back up and find the aforementioned navicular tuberosity. As you can see, there's a decent sized space in between my fingers. If this is the navicular and this is metatarsal number 1, then in between, in this location, is actually his medial cuneiform. Palpating from the plantar surface and the dorsal surface, again, this is the attachment for tibialis anterior. I'm going to ask my individual to do some dorsiflexion and inversion, and right above my hand right here is tibialis anterior's tendon going right into what I discussed as the medial cuneiform. Next, I'm going to go in between metatarsal number 1 and 2 again as we work our way up. However, I'm going to landmark the base of metatarsal number 2 this time. With my finger palpating that tuberosity of the navicular and laying it across, in between this base here and this navicular bone is going to be cuneiform number 2, otherwise known as the intermediate cuneiform. I'm going to do the exact same procedure, trying to feel in between metatarsal 2 and 3 as I walk up. Again, its base around here. Switch my hands, landmark across where navicular sits, and so right in this location where I'm tapping right now, and now I'm going to place my fingers, would be the lateral cuneiform, cuneiform number 3. The last tarsal bone that we're going to be looking for is cuboid. So I'm going to look at a lateral view. As we palpate just distal to the lateral malleolus, the first landmark that I'm actually going to still be feeling is calcaneus. Not mentioned before on the calcaneus, but just in front of this lateral malleolus is what's known as the dorsal surface. You will hear about this dorsal surface as you talk about the origin of extensor digitorum brevis, which is in this area. If I ask my body to extend his toes, you can see that easily lifting up, as well as extensor hallucis brevis, just a little bit more medial on that same landmark. This muscle is sitting directly over top of the bone I'm looking for next, which is known as cuboid. So if I can feel the muscle belly of extensor digitorum brevis, I know that I'm sitting directly on top of cuboid. Cuboid is articulating with a lot of different bones, and so I'm going to briefly mention them. As proximal to it is the calcaneus, distal to it is the metatarsal number 5 and number 4, as well as medial to it being the navicular and the lateral cuneiform. So it's sitting, making a cube-like shape. Another way to landmark cuboid is to follow up on the 5th metatarsal. So I'm feeling for the metatarsal phalangeal joint right here. There is the head of the 5th metatarsal. I'm going to follow up along its shaft, follow up, and then there's going to be quite a large bump at the proximal end of this 5th metatarsal. This is known as one of two things: the tuberosity of the 5th, or in some books is referenced as the styloid process. If I were to roll proximal off that styloid process, I will sink into softer tissue, and this is again the location of the cuboid. We have a tendon that we've previously mentioned that runs in behind the fibula, the lateral malleolus, and that'll be fibularis longus. That tendon actually dives underneath cuboid, and there's a landmark on the inferior surface of that cuboid known as groove 4 fibularis longus. So if I ask my person to evert again, I may be able to feel that tendon diving underneath the cuboid in this location.